All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another session of our CEJA office hours. Let's see, I will open this up to questions in a minute. I did just want to go over, because I've seen there's been some emails and help requests for, just kind of some clarifications on, the transfer requests that have been made. Um, so, you're adding whether the customer in the system is at that inquiry level or an applicant. I did want to note, so we do have the email that acknowledges if I'm a Climate Works grantee and I'm trying to add another customer and I send I initiate the transfer request. There is an email that gets sent to the grantees. And I know we've talked about, and it's something we still need to develop, is kind of having that summary email, just, acknowledging, here's new customers in your list or, transfer requests. But I do want to acknowledge that, whether the customer status is an inquiry or an applicant, that, if you have any requests, maybe the email went to, your junk or spam folder. It wasn't, received. What you can do is in this dashboard here. So when we're, logged into CEJA in the dashboards, we'll select, the drop down and then CEJA. And I'm logged in so I'm going to see everybody. But when, you filter the dashboard and get that table shown here, should come here in a second. Under outreach, we do have a row, respond to transfer requests. And so, we'll click, I can see 7. And again, this is for, every grantee, but we are pulling in, all, types of, customer status. So there's this inquiry and then, there's, the applicant here. And I know we've, gone over in the past, the applicants that can be responded to on the customer's intake page. Okay, here we go. So then, when we open up that customer record and select intake, on the intake tab, we'll see a button here where we can respond to that request. So we can see that, this customer has indicated preference to work with, this other, grantee, and we can confirm that response there. And I know we've gone over in the past how to initiate those transfer requests, on the customer's intake page. You check the box, select the program, and this is our test environment. This isn't out yet, but it looks like, I have to make sure and test this to make sure it works. But we are adding that, reason for request so that there's a little more context, as to why, this transfer request is being initiated. So again, I think this update will probably go out. Yeah, it'll go out tomorrow night. So Friday, we'll have this, text box here where you can add that reason for request. And that text will also appear in that email that gets sent when the transfer request is initiated. But I did want to note too that, going back to this dashboard, the respond to transfer requests row, the inquiry accounts as well. So, if, one grantee has added the inquiry account, but they haven't, they haven't completed the pre-screening or, the application, we just kind of have this, record here. That, if another grantee is adding them, there's, the ability to request that inquiry record gets transferred to their customer list. And so it seems like this was the case that, another provider that was not CEJA Hub CW12 maybe a CEJA hub CW10, tried to add Bill into the system, but got the prompt that, Bill already exists with, another group. Would you like to request the transfer? And so when they did, um, that when that request is made, then, CW12, that hub will see in this row responded transfer requests, um, Bill here, and they can, at the top left, we can see, this button responder request, and then they can accept it here as well. So I just wanted to kind of remind and point out, I know it's been a while, I think, since we've talked about the inquiry transfer requests, but just to, be sure, as you're, checking the dashboard, on a regular basis, that to keep in mind, this row here for, any transfer requests that your organization might receive. I'm just checking the chat to see if there's questions there. Okay.
Hey, David.
Hey.
On that, when the system, gives a prompt that somebody's already in the system somewhere, is there any way to figure out if their duplicate record is just, a historical thing, like maybe 5 years ago they participated in something that had a worknet record versus, is there a way to distinguish between that and somebody who's currently enrolled in another CEJA program?
Yeah, so the system would check across, whether they're in Climate Works or Workforce Hubs or, maybe returning residents. So yeah, as long as they're, kind of housed in this list, which, does include everybody, the system will pick up on that.
And it won't let them proceed in either case, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So like if it was the case that they completed a workforce program 5 years ago, but they're showing up in the system as having completed and exited that program, will the system simply prompt them to use that old record, or will it tell them that they can't proceed? Like how does that work on the user side?
I'd have to double check, but I think at the moment it would say that they can't proceed. However, in another program, JTED, this year started, round 2. If in round 1, their overall, program status is, let's see, like withdrawn, incomplete, or I think successful completion are, those statuses there. If that, round 1 record has, a status indicating that, their time in the JTED round 1 program is over, then a new one, then that customer can be added by, a different grantee, a different provider, and have a record in round 2. Okay. And I think we can,
but
if we, oh, go ahead.
But for our programs, it'll just tell them they can't enter that student, right?
Right.
Okay. And so I think that's where we need it right now. I just want to make sure so that folks know that if they get that warning or if they get that prompt, then they need to reach out to us to try to untangle it. I think that's kind of what we want right now, I think.
Yeah. Do we have any questions about, I guess, anything in CEJA really? The system or, policy questions?
Hey, David, this is Emily Welsh. I have one really quick question. If the barrier reduction specialist addresses a service need from the service needs assessment, How do we get that marked as completed? I know we're like putting them in as like wraparound services and putting the correct like amount, like a gas card given, that kind of thing, but it's still showing up as needing attention.
Well, let me try and walk through one of these here. Might be an issue with the system, or maybe just one status here. Not complete with the customer needs assessment. Okay, so I think this should pull up a list of people who need that to be completed. How about, let's select this customer here. Okay, so intake. All right, so we'll go through the service needs assessment and just get some selections here. Let's say they needed assistance with transportation. About, okay, public transit fare cards. And then let's also say, let me do housing as well. Okay. And then finish the rest of this out here. Yes. No. Okay. So submit this. And if we go back to, let's see, our progress page, and then we'll refresh this, and we should see down here some items we need to address for transportation and housing. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we can identified in the service needs assessment, a couple needs here. So then over in, where we're adding and editing our services here, we'll add the wraparound support service and edit this here. And okay, so we'll select a goal. We'll say it started. Start date today, end date end of the month, and let's just say 3 hours a week. Okay, so then on the dollar value of service tab, we'll add our costs here since we're providing these in-house. So the first one will say, public transit fare cards. So transportation, public transit fare cards, and we'll select the payment method, the start date, individual payment cost, say 250, 2 times, and cost estimate, no. They pay by the grant and not a split payment. Okay, so we'll click save here. And let's see if we refresh our progress page. We should see, okay, so we see that cost is coming in. And then we'll need to add another cost for transportation. And, oh, I said public transit fare cards, right? Or no, I'm sorry, housing. Deposits and a similar setup here. So, no. Okay, then we click save again. And let me actually save this service too. Okay, so the service has been saved. And if we refresh the status here, then we should see we are good to go here. But there is one other thing I want to know. If we have a cost, let's say, we selected that it is a cost estimate, and we, save this, and we go back over here, this will, in this case, it'll change it back to yellow. But if that radio button is selected for a cost estimate, it'll remain yellow. And that's just kind of, an indicator for the system to, go back in and, enter the, exact amount there. And so that might play a role. I know that's, come up before in another program, that cost estimate button being checked. But
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
yeah. Have any other questions? Oh, is there a field to add a former IEP? Hmm. Um, so, and I guess I might have a question about that, Rebecca. I know we have, in the career plan tab, we do have the training service that gets added, development of an IEP. Um, if there's like a paper copy you have, that could be added to, the participant under the participant summary tools that could be uploaded there as well, if that answers your question, or if you had, a follow-up to that. Any other questions? Oh, okay, good. I'm glad that answered the question, Rebecca. All right. Well, if there's no other question, oh, can you address signature for participants? Oh, okay. Yes. So there was an issue that's been identified. We'll need our programmers to correct. I can select this tab here. Um, where maybe this won't be the best example if the application's already signed. Oh yeah, let me find different participant here. So there's an issue with one of the selections for signing an application. Let me just open up a. Here. Okay, view application completed. Okay, so there's an issue that's come up where, for, signing the application, when you select sign as applicant, we have, a few drop downs here. Of course, there's the username and password that can be used to sign the application for, the customer. We can upload a paper copy of the sign, or upload a digital copy of the application. But the issue here was sending a link to a customer. In selecting this, it should copy the URL for that you can then email to the customer. But when we select it, it brings up, even for me, a not authorized message. So I think there was definitely something off, but I think there's probably an extra character or two in this URL. So we'll need to have a programmer update this so that it actually copies the link for the customer, rather than taking you that message. And I think just to double check this too, even if we do manually copy and paste it, yeah, we're still getting the not authorized message. So yeah, that'll be something that our programmers will have to fix. But thank you for bringing that up, because I did mean to mention that earlier in the call here. Any other questions?
David, this is Yolanda. I didn't hear what you said. What was wrong with this? At first, when I was putting applications in, doing intake, it was giving me their username and password, and then I can like write it down or highlight one of them, and then when I do sign as an applicant, then I can paste it in. But now it doesn't do that. It just brings up my information. But at first, it would give me their information after I completed it. It'll give me their username and a password. And so what I would do is copy and paste, copy that username, write down the password in their file, and then go in and hit and then do this sign application with them right here. And then I'll just hit sign, and then it'll put the signature in, and then I'll go down to the case manager signature, and then I'll do and I'll click sign, and then my information come up, and then I'll just hit sign and then print it out.
Yeah. So,
I mean, not print it out once I did it. It was, leave it in there.
Okay. So are you saying that, not when you're adding them into the system, you don't always see that username and password?
Nope. At first I was, now I'm not. Now it's just popping up mines. But before, if I would be able to kind of see it after the application is complete, is say, here's the username and, password. And then I'll just, copy one and write down the other. I'll copy the username, the password, and then the username I'll write down. And then I'll just go in and write the username in and paste in the password, and then it'll sign it.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been doing that in the last 5 or 6 applications that I've done.
Okay, let me see here, because there could
I'm
be
not sure why.
Yeah, there could be one of two things. I just want to make sure. So on one hand, they could have an existing workNet. Oops, that wasn't helpful. On one hand, they could have an existing workNet account, and that might be, it might sync up with an existing one. And when that happens,
generate a password.
If it's a brand new account that didn't sync up, yeah, we'll generate that password and display it. But if they have an existing one, I think it just shows their username, because they may be using workNet for other things. They may have already set it up, and I just want to make sure that that is still in fact generating here when they oops. Something's off here. Oh, okay. I think this might be a new one. Okay, so yeah, in this case, it was a brand new one. But yeah, I think it'll show here too. It may just say, I forget the exact language, but customer has a password already. But and yeah, if they don't know that password, once that gets created, when we select OK, maybe they haven't logged in, a couple of years. Sometimes that's the case. You can come in here and, reset, the password for the,
Okay.
yeah. And then you should be able to, use that same password on the application summary page.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, David.
Let's see, it looks like there is a question in the chat. When it is corrected, will there be authorization issues for support staff who might be assisting with intake? No. Yeah, no, there shouldn't be any, authorization issues. I kind of think what's happening is that URL that keeps saying not authorized is, I think, directing to a page that may not actually exist, and the system is kind of confused, or it's something only programmers can see. But no, when it is corrected, we won't be having any issues with prior staff or prior customer records. Any other questions? Well, if not, we can end early. See no other question in the chat, or I guess I will, ask, the RAs if there's anything you'd like to share or anything before we close out today.
I don't
I have
have
nothing.
anything.
Thanks, David. I don't either.
Excellent, thank you. All right, well, in that case, I think we will end here and give you some time back this morning. So we'll get this posted to the partner guide page, the recording. And yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, y'all.